Live only on The Zone, August 16th, Moses Itauma, the next heavyweight superstar, faces his greatest challenge, Whyte, back to remind the world he's not done yet. Itauma versus Whyte. Click the link in the description to buy now.
This is Colin McGuigan for IFLTV. Francisco?
What the fuck are you wearing?
An American football designer top, shout out Milana who sent me it. And a little pair of cold Buxton shorts. Not like that?
The silence is very telling.
Definitely. Right, you just spawned in Ghana. What?
It spawned out and spawned here.
What actually, talk to us, how long has that trip been planned?
A week, only a week. We've been having discussions. Obviously, AJ was out at the show the guys did there. Legacy did a show there a few months back now, which was spectacular. You saw the atmosphere. I'm sure you saw the clips from it. And there's been discussions around a potential AJ fight, but as well around a broader partnership and looking to work together. So it was a good trip. I've seen all the rumours that he's fighting Tony Yoka out there. It's not true. But there are discussions and potential of doing a fight in Ghana at some point, as well as a broader partnership with Matchroom, with AJ Boxing, 258, to come together and build something huge.
If you were doing a fight with AJ in Africa, would it more than likely be in Nigeria, seeing as that's where he's from?
Look, I think there's been discussions in the past about Nigeria, but Ghana openly want to try and make something happen. So, there's an opportunity to do something there. But there has been talks before about Nigeria, but Ghana is the realistic option right now.
Right, Tony Yoka, you've just said it's not true. Has there been any discussions?
No, not at all. There's been people saying that's a fight that could work, but there's been no discussions about a fight between Anthony Joshua and Tony Yoka.
Are you involved in the discussions with Eddie and Nikisa and MVP? Or?
No, I've been in Ghana. I work on that side of the business. No, Eddie's been dealing with Nikisa closely. He's been speaking to him very often, and that's a very realistic opportunity, that fight against Jake Paul. It's a huge fight.
Well, Eddie told us it's an 8 out of 10 chance of happening.
Yeah. What do you want me to tell you? Something different?
Well, that's quite possible then?
Very possible, yeah. I think, I said it in an interview the other day, it's the biggest fight out there. It's bigger than the Fury fight on a global scale. Anthony Joshua against Jake. And whether you want to hear that, and I don't necessarily I think it's mad that that's what we're saying, but that's the world we live in.
Where would that fight land? Is it something that you try and bring to Wembley or Spurs Stadium?
Maybe, or in the US, there's huge numbers in the US as well for that fight. Let's see. It's a massive fight wherever it lands.
What kind of month would we be looking at if it does happen?
One that is within 12 months of a calendar year.
In terms of AJ, are we definitely not going to see him before the end of the year, though?
I think very unlikely, yeah. I don't think you won't see him this side of the year. But we're looking at options now for, like I said, if the Jake Paul fight doesn't happen, that's where this Ghana conversation comes in as well. And amongst other fights too. The Fury fight could be realistic down the line as well. Let's see.
Martin Bakole in Africa, is that also potential?
No, not a conversation had on that, to be honest.
Would you have conversations on it?
I don't think, personally, it's a fight. I like Martin Bakole, but I don't think Martin Bakole is a fight that makes sense for Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua, the reality is, can go in against anyone. If people want to get the big paydays, they need to go in there with Anthony Joshua. He's still the... Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, just win or lose, right? If Whyte came through this, could we maybe see AJ and Whyte again?
Anything's possible. This is the mad thing with boxing, is how many times we said, no, that won't happen, or this happened. Boxing's a crazy sport, isn't it? And anything's possible, so you can never write anything off. AJ, people say he's got 6 months left, a year left. He's got as long as he wants in the sport, and as long as he's fit, healthy, he's got as long as he wants to be in the sport for, and he can stay, and he can be involved in the biggest fights in the sport. So you can't really write anything off.
A hypothetical question for you. I don't know if you're going to be able to answer it or not. We done an interview with Napper, Chris Eubank's manager, and he said that he's not actually tied to Boxer as such. It's a partnership between them where they have the last say. If there ever came a situation where Chris Eubank Jr. was potentially a free agent with Boxer now on BBC, and it's well kind of documented that maybe the money isn't the same on BBC as Sky, would Matchroom ever entertain conversations with Chris Eubank after everything that's been said?
again, boxing's a mad sport, isn't it? Where you can write things off and say this won't happen, that won't happen. Who knows? The relationship quite openly, as we all know. So you don't have to dig too much digging, do you, to see what the thoughts are? But boxing's a crazy sport, and we'll see. But look, the fight is Conor Benn, Chris Eubank. That's happening November 15th, and then we'll go from there. But I don't see that happening. I say it could happen, but in my opinion, it won't happen.
Frank, obviously, we interviewed at the very start whenever the BBC and Ben Shalom deal came out. Have you heard anything else since then?
About what, the Ben Shalom deal or anything in general?
No, anything on the BBC and Ben Shalom?
No, look, I saw it's 4 fights a year, 4 shows. I mean, I've said openly, I think I could get a deal with the BBC without a stable of fighters, to be honest. But it's good that, there's boxing in more places. That's the reality of it. And he's going to have to adjust, obviously, his business model and what he's looking to do, because he's not at that top tier anymore. But best of luck to them. I've always had a good relationship and wish them all the best.
There's been a fight announced that Dan Rafael's had a lot of negative comments on in Lima and Boots. He said it's kind of not a good opponent. I'm sure you've seen the comments. What do you make of those comments from Dan Rafael?
I think when you look at the 154-pound division, you look at the run Lima's been on, and you look at his ranking in BoxRec, and he's not hugely well known. That's the reality of it. And sometimes in boxing, the problem is it's based on how well do you know the name, and I don't think Dan Rafael really knows who Lima is, or would have watched many of Lima's fights. And are there other fights out there? The Virgil Ortiz fight is a fight that, as we said, Boots has signed for. And then when you look at other names in the 154, we looked at all the options. We offered it to a whole host of fighters who didn't want to take it. So again, Boots is doing his part, but if fighters don't want to fight him, that's out of his control. I think Lima's a good test. I think he's, like I say, he's coming off a great run, and you're always going to have people, people aren't always going to be happy with every fight, are they? That's the reality of it. And you could make the best fight in the world and people will still complain. So I don't really read too much into it, and I think it was one of the best options there was out there, and I think it's going to be a great fight.
How hard is this scheduling nightmare that you're kind of having at the minute with the zone? A lot of people maybe in the UK will say, it should be spread out more, want more fights, but then you've got Dave Allen and Boots on the same night. Is that tough from a matchroom perspective? Not
really. We've got a global business, and you're stuck with me in the UK, Eddie in the US. We got September 6th, we got back-to-back shows as well in Mexico and in Sunderland. So it's part and parcel of being a global business.
Crocker Donovan, you're going to be in...
I'll be in Japan for Inoue against Akhmadaliev when Akhmadaliev goes and, upsets in Japan. So it's part and parcel of being a massive business. That's what we do, and especially with the zone schedule as well, amongst a whole host of other fights and other promoters. But the key is for us is to deliver the best possible fights and content everywhere for people to watch.
Right, last one. There's a massive fight here this week. Moses Itauma, Dillian Whyte. Would you rather Moses Itauma right now or AJ right now in your stable?
AJ.
Why?
Because I think I really like Moses Itauma. I think he's a lovely guy, and I couldn't say a bad word, a brilliant fighter as well. But I think AJ will always have, as I said there earlier in the interview, he could go on for another 4 years in massive fights. And I don't think Moses, I think it was the perfect storm with Anthony Joshua when he became what he became and over the years. And I think it's a different time. And I think, he's 20 years old. Don't get me wrong, it could be proven, it could be completely proven wrong. But I just think it's going to be very difficult to get anywhere near the heights that Anthony Joshua has created. And Anthony Joshua can still create now because of the audience he's generated. And Moses is around in a different time. But again, might prove us all wrong, or might prove me wrong. And if he does, congratulate, great. And it's great for the sport of boxing.
Well, Frank Smith, look forward to pestering you again this week. Appreciate your time as always on IFLTV.
Cheers, Colin.
Only on the zone, August 16th, Moses Itauma, the next heavyweight superstar, faces his greatest challenge, Dillian Whyte, back to remind the world he's not done yet. Itauma versus Whyte. Click the link in the description to buy now.